The fluorescent lights of the pharmacy buzzed. Overhead, as Sarah Mitchell stood frozen. At the counter, her 7-year-old daughter Emma pressed against her side. The pharmacist's words hung in the air like a death sentence. "I'm sorry." "Ma'am, your card declined." Sarah's hands trembled as she tried the card again, knowing the outcome before the machine even beeped its rejection. Behind her, she could feel the weight of impatient stares from the growing line of customers. Her chest tightened and hot tears pricked at the corners of her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Not here. Not in front of Emma. "Mommy?" Emma's small voice cut through the fog of humiliation. "Is everything okay?" Sarah looked down at her daughter's pale face and forced a smile that felt like it might crack her in two. Everything was not okay. Everything hadn't been okay since the medical bills started piling up 6 months ago. Since her husband's sudden death left them drowning in debt. Since she'd been forced to choose between keeping the lights on and filling Emma's prescription for the antibiotics that would clear up the pneumonia, threatening her fragile lungs. "Let me try one more time," Sarah whispered to the pharmacist, her voice barely audible. She knew her checking account was empty. She knew the credit card had reached its limit weeks ago. But desperation made people do foolish things, made them hope for miracles that didn't exist in the harsh, fluorescent reality of a Tuesday afternoon. The pharmacist, a middle-aged woman with tired eyes, nodded sympathetically. Sarah handed over her last remaining card, a debit card connected to an account that held exactly $12.37. The prescription cost $94. Declined. The word appeared on the screen like a verdict, and Sarah felt something inside her shatter. She had failed. Failed as a mother, failed as a provider, failed at the one job that mattered most, keeping her daughter safe and healthy. Emma's cough had gotten worse this morning, a wet, rattling sound that kept Sarah awake all night, watching her daughter's small chest rise and fall with labored breaths. "I'm so sorry," Sarah said, her voice breaking despite her best efforts. "I just need a few days. Maybe until Friday when I get paid I could—" "Ma'am, I understand, but our policy—" the pharmacist began, not unkindly. "Please," the word came out as a sob. Sarah didn't care anymore about the people behind her, about maintaining dignity, about anything except the little girl whose hand she held. "She needs this medicine. She's been sick for 10 days, and the doctor said if it gets worse, she'll need to be hospitalized. And I can't afford that either, and I just—" A hand appeared on the counter beside hers. It was weathered and calloused, belonging to a man Sarah hadn't noticed standing slightly to her left. He was perhaps in his 60s, wearing a worn flannel shirt and jeans that had seen better days. His face carried the deep lines of someone who'd known hard work and harder times. "Try mine," he said simply, extending a credit card to the pharmacist. Sarah's head snapped up. "No, I couldn't possibly—" "You're not asking. I'm offering." His voice was gentle but firm, with a trace of an accent Sarah couldn't quite place. "Your little one needs her medicine." "Sir, that's incredibly kind. But I can't accept—" Sarah's throat closed around the words. Pride warred with desperation, and desperation was winning. "Do you know what it's like to watch someone you love suffer? When you can't help them?" The man's eyes, a startling blue, held hers. "I do. And if I can spare someone else that pain, then that's what I'm going to do." The pharmacist looked between them, then carefully took the man's card and ran it through the machine. Sarah stood paralyzed, tears now streaming freely down her face. Emma tugged on her mother's coat. "Mommy's crying because of the nice man?" Emma asked, confused. "Sometimes people cry when they're happy too, sweetheart," the man said, crouching down to Emma's level. "You make sure you take all that medicine, okay? Every last dose." "I will," Emma promised solemnly. "Are you an angel?" The man laughed, a sound like warm honey. "No, little one. Just someone who remembers what it's like to need help." The transaction approved, and the pharmacist bagged the antibiotics, along with a children's fever reducer. The man insisted on adding. Sarah stood shaking, overwhelmed by the kindness of this stranger. "I'll pay you back," she said, her voice fierce with determination. "I swear to you, I'll pay back every penny. If you give me your address, your phone number—" He shook his head. "No need." "But I have to—" "What you have to do," he interrupted gently, "is take care of that beautiful daughter of yours, And someday, when you're back on your feet and you see someone else struggling, you help them. That's how you pay it back. Sarah's legs felt weak. I don't even know your name. James, he smiled. James Foster. I'm Sarah Mitchell. And this is Emma. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. Mr. Foster, I don't know how to thank you. You have no idea what this means. I think I do. Something sad flickered across his face. I lost my daughter 5 years ago. Leukemia. She was 8. He paused, his voice catching. Near the end, there were so many medications, so many bills. Our insurance had maxed out. I'll never forget the day a stranger in a hospital cafeteria overheard me on the phone, arguing with a billing department. This man just walked up and paid 3 months of our treatment costs. Just like that. Sarah's hand flew to her mouth. Did it save her? No. James's eyes glistened. But it gave us 3 more months together without me drowning in panic about money. 3 months where I could just be her. Father, instead of a man making, deals with creditors. That stranger gave me the gift of being present for my daughter's last days on earth. I'm so sorry, Sarah whispered. Me too. He touched Emma's head softly. But I promised myself that day that I would pass it on, that I would be that stranger for someone else. So you're not taking anything from me. Sarah, you're helping me keep a promise to my little girl. Behind them, someone in line sniffled loudly. When Sarah glanced back, she saw that several people were crying. And the woman directly behind her was clutching her purse with white-knuckled hands. The pharmacist handed Sarah the bag, her own eyes red. Your daughter is lucky to have you, she said quietly. Sarah clutched the medication to her chest like it was made of gold. Because in that moment it was worth more than gold. It was worth everything. Mr. Foster, she said, I will pay this forward. I promise you that. I know you will. He smiled and started to turn away, but Emma darted forward and wrapped her small arms around his legs. Thank you for helping my mommy, she said, her voice muffled against his jeans. James knelt and hugged her back, and Sarah saw his shoulders shake with silent tears. When he stood, he quickly wiped his eyes and nodded to them both before walking away, disappearing into the aisles of the pharmacy like he'd never been there at all. Sarah stood holding the medicine and her daughter, surrounded by strangers who'd witnessed this moment of grace. The woman behind her stepped forward. Your parking meter, she said, pressing quarters into Sarah's hand. Let me cover it so you don't get a ticket. Oh, I thank you. Another person touched her shoulder. There's a food pantry on Maple Street. Tuesdays and Thursdays, no judgment, just help. Sarah nodded, unable to speak. That night, after Emma had taken her first dose of antibiotics and fallen asleep breathing easier, Sarah sat at her kitchen table with a notebook. She wrote James Foster's name at the top, and under it, pay it forward. She didn't know when she'd be able to help someone else the way he'd helped her, but she would. Even if it was buying someone's coffee when they were short at the register, or giving away Emma's outgrown clothes, or volunteering an hour of her time. 3 years later, Sarah stood in that same pharmacy, now working there as a technician. A young mother approached the counter with a sick child, her hands shaking as she presented a declined card. Sarah didn't hesitate. She knew what she had to do, and somewhere she hoped James Foster was smiling.